Welcome back to the channel. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Promised Land by Robert B. Parker. This is book number 4 in Robert B. Parker's Spencer mystery series. Now, I got the entire Spencer mystery series down here on my shelf, probably some 30-odd books. I will show them to you. Anyway, there they all are, right there. That's where they are. Anyway, we're reviewing them in order of publication, so I think we're to number 4 now. We're going to get to all of them before the channel is shut down, or before I die, or, before the end of the universe. We're going to try to review all of them. And we're going to try to review every book in my library here. So we got a lot of books to review, folks. Let's talk about Robert B. Parker, though. Hard-Boiled Mysteries. This series started in the early 70s, and it just ended maybe in about 5 years ago when Robert B. Parker's death. Some 30-odd books. We've already went through that. This is book number 4, Promised Land. Spencer. Who is Spencer? He is a badass private detective in Boston. I kind of picture him to look like the author. That's the author photo, He's got this big burly man and a kick-ass dog. If you're going to have a dog, you might as well have a dog that's going to tear someone's throat out. And that's what Spencer, I picture Spencer to look like the author, actually. Now let's talk about the cover. The covers of all of these are pretty simple designed. It's a keychain with a pistol and a mermaid. Don't know what any of that stuff has to do with the story because I just read it. But, we'll get into the story here. Robert B. Parker, Spencer. Spencer is a private detective. A man named Shepard walks into his office and says, my wife has gone missing. Spencer lives in Boston. This guy, he's a rich guy, and he lives in Hyannisport. If you know where that is, it's a rich area of Massachusetts up along Cape Cod-ish somewhere. Never been there, but I'd like to go, and I'm going to tell you why. Because after reading this book, it sounds lovely. So Spencer says, well, I'll find your wife. That's my job. That's what I'll do. Thing is, I don't want to commute from Hyannisport to Boston and back, so you're going to have to pay me extra because I'm going to need to have a hotel room there in Hyannis. I'm going to have to relocate for a few weeks. It's just going to be a little more expensive. And the dude just with the cash, he's like, whatever you need, man. It was raining money in Spencer's office. Spencer's like, cool. So then he drives up to Hyannisport. I want to read to you page 20 of the description of his drive because this is what I love about writing. This is what I love about most of the books in my collection, and it's what I love about Robert B. Parker. It's just these little snippets of writing that authors put into their stories that just bring the story alive and makes you think about your own life too. And I wanted to read page 20 because it is about Spencer's drive from Boston to Hyannisport. And it goes a little something like this. I was up early and on my way to Hyannis before the heavy rush hour traffic started in Boston. Route 3 to the Cape is a super highway to the Sagemore Bridge. 20 years ago, there was no superhighway. And you went to the Cape along Route 28, through the small southern Massachusetts towns like Randolph and others. It was slow going, but it was interesting, and you could look at the people and the front yards and the brown mongrel dogs, and you could stop at the town diners and eat the town hamburgers that were cooked before your very own eyes. Driving down Route 3 that morning, the only person I saw outside of the car was a guy changing a tire near a sign that said Plymouth. Whenever I travel, I always kind of avoid the freeways. I always like to take the back roads like he's describing. Back when Spencer first would drive out to the Cape Cod, he would the road wasn't a freeway, so you stopped in so you slowed down and had to slow down through every little town on the road. And you would have to stop at the stoplights, and you could look at the different stores and the different shops. Well, the freeway bypasses all of that, and it just whisks you out into, the place you need to go, and you miss seeing most of what America is about. I just love that he put that in there because I dig it. I dig it. And another thing is he describes the drive. As I arced up over the Cape Cod Canal at the Sagemore Bridge, Route 3 became Route 6, the Mid-Cape Highway. In the center strip and along each roadside was scrub white pine and some taller and occasional maple trees with some smaller oak trees. At points on the road, you could see ocean on both sides. Buzzards Bay to the south, Cape Cod Bay to the north. In fact, the whole Cape echoed with a sense of the ocean, not necessarily its sight, and not always its scent or sound. Sometimes just the sense of vast space on either side of you. An open brightness stretching long and far away under the sun. I mean, you just can picture that, driving along the Cape and a narrow strip of land and having a vast ocean on this side, a vast ocean on that side. It just sounds like a wonderful drive, and I want to make it now because of this book. Let's get into the plot of the book now. Shepard comes into the office, says my wife is missing. They live in Hyannisport. Spencer goes up to Hyannisport. He goes into the guy's house. It's a rich house. The guy lives wealthily, and he's got a little bratty teenage daughter that always prances around in a skimpy swimming suit. And she's just a brat, and she just irritates the hell out of everybody. Great character. Now, Shepard himself is not being quite honest with Spencer in that the cat is messing with the camera stand, and I expect the stand to fall over at any minute. Anyway, so Shepard's not being quite honest with Spencer as Spencer find out, because there's this guy who's an enforcer. He's an enforcer for the mob. He's just an enforcer for bad people. And his name is Hawk. And he's this big, muscly bound, like linebacker-looking black guy who's just known as a tough thug around Boston. And he's an enforcer. And everybody knows that he's the guy that when the mob or anybody else wants somebody to pay up and they're really serious about it, they send Hawk. And Hawk is in Shepard's house. And Hawk knows that Shepard, if Hawk is anywhere, Spencer knows that whoever Hawk is near is in serious trouble, and Spencer's just like, I think that both me and you are in way over our head. I don't know about finding your missing wife anymore, but anyway, he goes ahead and starts looking for the missing wife, and Spencer, he's a big guy himself. Like I say, he's described as like a Jack Reacher type tough guy. So he's a big burly dude like this. So he doesn't back down from a fight anyway, and he gets involved with, he goes in search of the guy's wife. And finds out that the wife isn't all she was supposed to be either. He actually finds her pretty quick. And that's where the plot starts to go sideways, backwards, forwards. It's one of, this is book number 4. It's probably my favorite one so far, just because the plot involves many more characters than the previous books. And the plot is a lot more dark and grim. And things are a lot more dangerous. Spencer's a wisecracking guy. So when you've got a wisecracking dude telling you the story, you sort of approach the story with a bit of levity and maybe not seriousness. But this one gets pretty grim, dark, and I really liked it. I really liked it because the missing wife, wasn't necessarily missing. And she might be involved in some things that she probably shouldn't be involved in. And I'm not even going to explain what she's involved in because it's crazy. Everybody in this book is sus. And anyway, I wanted to give this book a strong, let's give it a good 8.5. Let's give it a 9 out of 10. Let's say 9 out of 10.